Hey everybody, my name is John from Community Life Church, and this is Meals Ready to Eat from the Bible. We would really appreciate a like and subscribe. Hello. Today's episode is The Power of God is Shown in the Love of God. Jesus shows us the power of God on his way to the cross. Now we're in Mark, in the book of Mark, chapter 12, and there's a couple of things going on. This is just after his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. Everybody's waving and cheering, yay for Jesus, as he rides into Jerusalem. So some Pharisees and some Herodians came to trick him. Now, a Pharisee is a very fundamental Jewish leader who wanted to put an heir of David on the throne, and a Herodian wanted to put Herod on the throne. So they didn't get along, but they didn't like Jesus. And they tried to trick him with the tax question. Then, they weren't finished, the leaders, some Sadducees, and these are people who didn't believe that the dead are raised. You know, once you die, you're dead, and that's it. They came to Jesus, and they tried to trick him with a question about a woman who married 7 brothers. According to Jewish law, if you married a man and that man died, then the woman would marry his brother, so to raise up heirs for that brother. Well, this guy had 7 brothers, and this woman married all of them. And they said to Jesus, well, when they get to heaven, whose wife she's going to be? Well, didn't work, of course, but these people were very smart, very educated, very sophisticated, very clever, but they were still people, and that means, just like us, that they can't trick God, they can't get one over on God, they can't overcome God. And in the answer to the Sadducees, Jesus is giving us a message. So let's go take a look at what that message is and what we can learn from this little episode about what God is saying to us. So let's just get that up on the screen, get the passage up. This is in Mark. This is chapter 12. Let's make sure we got it right, 24 through 27. And he's speaking to the Sadducees about this woman. Jesus said to them, is this not the reason you are mistaken, that you do not understand the scriptures or the power of God? For when they rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. Not are angels, but are like angels. But regarding the fact that the dead rise again, have you not read in the book of Moses, in the passage about the burning bush, how God spoke to him, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. You are greatly mistaken. So that's Mark 24 through 27. So no matter how clever we are, and no matter how smart or educated we are, we still must understand the power of God. So Jesus' earthly ministry at this point was nearing its end. He was in Jerusalem, as I said, after the triumphant entry, and he's on his way to be crucified. Now, he gives us this message that the power of God is bigger than, stronger than, beyond anything we can think of or imagine. So there are things that cannot overcome or stand against the power of God. Nothing can. But in his message, he gives us a couple of ideas of what can't stand against the power of God. Number one, of course, is the enemy. The great enemy, Satan, cannot overcome the power of God. My sin, your sin, our sin is not bigger than the power of God. My failings, our failings, things that are not necessarily sin, but we're just not good at, that we can't do, the talents we do not possess, the ability do not possess, cannot overcome the power of God. They're not an obstacle to God's power. Sickness and infirmities cannot overcome the power of God. The sicknesses and infirmities that we all have are subject to the power of God. Our age, we're not too young and we're not too old. These things, our age is just subject to the power of God. God's power overcomes that. Any created thing is subject to the power of God. Death itself is subject to the power of God. So there's nothing that we can think of in this world that can overcome the power of God. And we see this in Romans 8:35 through 39, where Paul asks, what can overcome the power of the love of God? Nothing can. Nothing created, nothing in the heavens, nothing in the earth, nothing below the earth can overcome the power of God. So Jesus is telling us about the power of God on the way to his death. Then his power is shown in the resurrection. And he's telling us that we will be raised from the dead as well. Right? So all this comes together to give an illustration in this very simple passage about how powerful God is and what he can do and how he can overcome whatever failings and sin and mistakes we make. And that is good news. Thanks for watching. You can join us Sunday morning, 10:30 at 20 West Main Street, Catskill, New York. Can't make it? You can stream our services live on YouTube or Facebook, which you can find on our web at clchurch.cc. That's clchurch.cc. Don't forget to follow us throughout the week for devotions and times of sharing from leaders and staff. Leave a comment, leave a like, whatever you want. And thanks once again.